All right, so this seemed like an almost perfect way to introduce a new name to the channel. As one of these names we've seen before, right? We've seen the lad who's playing Delhi is BeastyQT. We've seen a few different videos of him. Definitely a very accomplished and skilled player. In fact, doing an incredibly good job on the leaderboards right now, only sitting behind Marine Lord. He's in second place with 1,835 rating at the time of recording. But his opponent has been he's been having some very weird matchmaking experiences. So Wham is playing England in this game, and Wham is sitting 31st on the leaderboard right now with 1,683 ELO. Not bad, respectable. But you have to wonder how much of that has been sinking due to just one person here, because he recently went down 45 ranks. That doesn't seem right considering he's 31st. I think the AO4.net is having me on a bit. But he has been being deranked a bit, because he's essentially been stuck in a never-ending loop of Beasty games. That's right. So in the last 2 days, Wham has played 10 games, and 9 of those 10 games have been up against Beasty. These lads have been having a BO9 in matchmaking, right? This isn't custom games. This isn't them choosing to play against each other non-stop. It's them incidentally queuing into each other non-stop. And I'm excited to see how this one's going to play out, because we've seen both of these civs start to get kind of revitalized. Delhi, after everyone read about how bad they are, people start to present the amazing opening, right, around the playing towards the Sacred Sides, going towards that home blade timing into banner arms or lancers, makes you very strong. And then England, breaths of life, right? People just return to a good old longbow rush occasionally, but people also thinking, if I want a longbow rush, what makes me more formidable? Man at arms, spears, right? Do I look for a later timing? We've even seen a little bit of eco booming out of England off of double trip TCs. So I'm really intrigued to see who's going to try what in this one, because this isn't a 10-minute rush. This is going to be going on for, over 20 minutes. So we are going to get some stalemates, some back and forth. We're not just going to get a decisive moment where someone cheeses into your base with 2 rams, types haha in all chat, and then you leave the game. And opener-wise, looks like Delhi is going to utilize the berry bushes straight away. Interesting to see that out of a Delhi player. We see this more frequently, I want to say, out of Abbasid players, because they get the bonus gather rate compared to Delhi, that while they do buff these up and make them bigger, right? They just make these very plump berry bushes of 250 to 500 for each source. They don't get that increased gather speed. Like the Abbasids do. And the Abbasid's gather speed puts it very close to in line with what you get from gathering from sheep. That being said, overall, I do like the idea of this play, and I've said why when we talked about Abbasid Dynasty players, and I think it does relate to Delhi as well, which is Delhi, even more so, in the other game, tends to be a very turtley type civ. So the purpose of going after these berry bushes early on is that in the event that you do get pressured, which is wholly possible when playing against England, you will have a backup point for which you can gather food from, right? Think of it similarly to civs that go into the professional scouts, and we've seen them be heavily pressured, but they're just gathering food right underneath their TC, giggling themselves, going, you can't hurt us, right? It's the same purpose with these sheep. These sheep should be saved where possible, for a situation further down the line where you're going to be friend. And I think it weighs up differently. If you're playing like France, for example, Mongols, no, straight away, take the sheep. It's a faster gather rate. You've got a good timing. But if you're playing a civ that feels like it's going to be behind in feudal age, 100% save the sheep until later. And you can see the comparison, because over here, England are not saving any time. They've already teched up. They're munching away at the sheep. And of course, England have that natural flow as well. Like being this rush-type civ, if they do transition to a later game situation, they want to be on farms anyway, right? So you want to get through the sheep now. You probably don't even give a damn about berry bushes later on. That being said, when they're this close to your spawn point, you 100% should be going after them, especially when there's deers sitting basically within coughing distance of the bushes. I'm not sure why bushes are coughing in this game. It's the burning bush situation all over again, guys. It turns out it was real. And we can already see the treacle coming out. Waypoint straight under the berry bush. Not because he wants to gather his longbowman, because he wants to gather skulls. Skulls of the Delhi people. This is what we were highlighting, right? Is you get out here, you start getting these berry bushes early, and look at this. Because Beasty already knows he's behind, what's he done? He's backed all the sheep away. He's moved them to the TC, already anticipating that he's going to have that fallback point to gather food from that is safe. And when one longbowman turns up, that should be the signal for Beasty to move all of these villagers back. He does need to be careful with his wood line. We'll probably have to switch it over, because that is a little bit exposed here. The only good news for him right now is Wham hasn't waited on his tree climb, right? He brought the Longbowman in straight away. He didn't wait until he had 2 or 3 and could start killing villagers, so he won't actually take any lives here. And Dome of Faith looks like it should be completed before Wham can stop this. Like, he could try to wrap around, but it's just too little too late. So he will not stop Beasty getting that tech up. And Beasty, what has he researched so far? So he's going into the efficient production next, looking to get some early military units out. Interesting choice. I assume this is because he's planning to go for the Horseman. If he's doing this with the intention of building a barracks and going spears, that's a fatal error, of course. But obviously, the other reason is just this is, you know, the second best tech to get at this stage of the game, in my opinion. Like, it's nice to have Scholar Health, but unless you're having 2 mosques up, you shouldn't be going for the Scholar Health. And it's going to be stable. So there you go. He's planning to probably bring a Scholar into the stables and then just get like 4 or 5 horsemen quickly. I like the walling coming out from Beasty on the sides just to ensure that his opponent's funneled in. Because remember, like, you know, mobile nations can be frustrating from this. If Wham runs all the way around here and discovers there's a wall, he's in trouble. If he runs this way and then tries to escape through the north, he's going to be in trouble. And I think that's what Beasty is anticipating. He's set up his base in a way, especially with the assistance of the generation of the trees. He's set up in a way that his opponent will have to hard commit to get south or north and push in past the choke point. Which means that when you run horsemen at him in the next minute, he has nowhere to leave. Like, Longbowmen will not get rid of these palisades. They'll be pinned against the wall. They won't even be able to kite out and get the most value out of shots onto these horsemen because they'll be gap closed upon. So yeah, there you go. Horsemen now being queued up. Dome of Faith not producing just yet. Beasty not really gathering the gold. He has started a cap down here. This is something we didn't highlight because we were focused on what he was doing in the base. The scout does manage to sneak in, but with the outpost down, the scout can't do anything here. So Beasty has locked in and fully secured one of these sacred site locations. Well played by him. And he stuck that not only past us, but past Wham as well. Wham seemed pretty unaware until he scouted out too late. And then the front walls as well. Just once again, creating these choke points, right? He doesn't want to allow Wham easily into space or out of his base. And this is the weakness of the longbows at this stage. However, Beasty is making a mistake here. I think he did lose a... Yeah, he lost a second villager sniped here as well. He does get to the longbowman, but not bad value at the moment for Wham. And Wham needs that value, right? We've highlighted this time and time again. When you play England, you're hard in on that feudal timing. 9 times out of 10 from what we've been seeing. Oh, and the interruption. So, Horseman going to charge out. Villager will be sniped. And the wall wasn't complete. But that is going to be the longbows repelled. And this is where Wham, look, he starts to fall back. He needs a secondary plan now. Because he can see his opponent has choked in. Hillendale definitely favors these more turtley type civs like HRE, like the Delhi, like even China as well comes to mind. So he needs a new plan around this. One thing that is going his way is that the Scholar did not cap the sacred site, by the way. This is what we've been highlighting recently about Longbowmen, right? Is against Outpost. The Outpost does not actually have the range to attack these 2 Longbowmen. So the Horseman will come out to address that. But it means that you now moved your Horseman away from your base. So there's a possibility now that Wham goes back in your base and harasses again, which is what he's doing around the back. 1 Horseman should be good enough to take out these Longbowmen. It is going to cost him a lot of his health probably, though. Even the Palings committed. A lot of damage done by that as well. And I think Wham should lose 2 longbows here, but he might get through the Horseman. Okay. Even Beasty jumping the gun there. Thought he could get away. Ends up just losing the Horseman anyway. What about a whoopsie daisy? So instead it's going to be right in and... What's he dropping now? He's going for the blacksmith. In the meantime, longbows will move out. And oh, they couldn't get him! They weren't able to snipe him out. So the sacred site has been taken. That's going to be 200 gold treacle per minute. Shout out to my viewer that just pointed out that we accidentally win the Halo category. I've fixed that now. Don't often address Twitch chat when we're doing these live. Thought I'd do it. It's almost like a subtle drop. Hey guys, if you're watching this later on YouTube, go watch the Twitch as well. It's now archery range going down. So Beasty... He now starts to get this gold treacle. This gold treacle is pretty formidable. You can already see that Wham's behind. And this is the thing we see time and time again out of England, is they essentially just ignore gold. It's quite surprising for a civilization that over the years was built on giant commercial trade and being filthy, stinking rich. Just not in the gold capacity, I guess. Makes sense. We never had a gold mine of our own, so why would we now? as we just continue to ignore it. So Wham has no interest in teching up. And this is where he is now hard on the clock. Because he can't stop this Sacred Site from being in control of his opponents. He could go and try to ram it down. But the problem that I think Wham has right now is if he commits a ram over there, it's going to buy so much safe time in Beasty's base. And for Wham, his prioritization right now in his mind is I need to punish Beasty's primary base. But to do that, he will require the wood. And the problem that you have right now if you're Wham is your wood income is poo-poo. Because the rate at which you are gathering it is the rate at which you're pushing out longbows. And I think Wham, he has to chill at this rate. He has to reach a point where it's like, okay, this is enough longbow. I need a ram now. Because otherwise, Beasty's going to get enough time to get very close to going for a tech up, or he'll just field a big enough army of horsemen that you become irrelevant. Yeah, in the meantime, just a villager moving out here. So he's going to keep this villager in this area. Sticks the second palisade wall down. I really like this play. He couldn't actually wall this off because of the sheep carcasses, which I think he killed. They belong to the scout. So this was a mistake of Beasty's own design. Like, he sniped these out because he saw that the scout was here trying to be annoying. But it means that the carcasses are now in the way and preventing him from walling this off, which is why he set up a second palisade wall here. Don't you just love sheep? Well, not that much, okay? We're England and Delhi. We're not Wales. Don't you just love sheep, though, and how if you don't actually farm them, they come back to haunt you? So now he's going to start producing more of the scholars. Remember, these only cost half the price out of the Dome of the Faith. And you've already got a decent amount of gold, so it's just about the research mainly. Like, one of these sites is providing more than enough, especially in an England matchup. It's just about how you defend yourself, and you're going to have to defend now. It's a battering ram going to walk. And the palings! Oh my god, this play out of Wham. This is so good. He encircles the tower, slaps down all of the stakes and says, oh, horses. But they will come out on the right side of it. It's actually not too bad for them. They didn't get caught out in the end because they had to back up, which means he abandons the palings. Another horseman going to chase in. Archer's hitting into him as well. Remember, they have got those campfires that assist them. And these horsemen, there's just not enough of them. And despite the whoopsie-daisy, the wraparound, the palings maybe not getting the highest value. I think they did actually initially pierce a bunch of those targets. So what should have been how many horsemen? I want to say 6, 7 horsemen in total. Ended up feeling like 3. Wham. What a play. What a play. We call that one a protracted siege, I believe the term is, ladies and gentlemen. In a small term, just around a small outpost. And it damn well worked. And now Beasty. Oh, no. No, the villager count. What's going on here? He got distracted because he wanted to deal with the battering ram. He's going to lose a lot of his eco instead. So villagers will get through it in the end. Horsemen stay on top of the longbows. Now, the longbows are behind the base, so retreating is very difficult at this stage. However, Beasty needs enough horsemen to get his opponent out of his base, and you think he has it this time. This is what we want to see. This is what we didn't get to see because of the palings, and it might happen again. He stacks the palings, he smashes through their health quickly, backs up, and he loses more. Beasty didn't micro around the back. And Wham! Thank you for presenting exactly what we cry about so often, which is why are more people not using the palings? This was amazingly effective. He's going to lose his force in the end, but there is no doubt he got a huge amount of value out of this, considering the palings play around the outpost as well as the palings play out in the field here, which means he still keeps 5 longbowmen up, and that means pressure will continue on Beasty. And this was a really important fight the way it played out, right? That exposed economy, those sniped out villagers. They matter the most because Beasty now 28 eco. Compare that to the 39 of Wham. Wham needs to be ahead on villager count because he's behind in other regards, right? He's not getting his gold treacle. So when you think about like effective income situation, right? Like one villager gives you 30 to 40 gold. It's what, 5 villagers saved from needing to be in a gold mine for Beasty. So this difference now matters. It's a slight advantage for England. Let's see if they can push that advantage home because he's sieging on the TC now. Second stables goes down. And this is where it gets problematic for Wham. Wham, he's been on 1 production. Remember, he never built a second racks. And this is where he'll get punished for it. Because he won't be able to keep the longbow numbers up in a surplus at this point. Horseman charging out. Stabbing in. Wrapping around. He's going to force the longbow back out of the campfire. And he hasn't dropped a new one yet either. And the palings aren't ready just yet. They've got 5 more seconds. The horsemen, they're taking full advantage of this. The outpost isn't complete either. Big mistake from Wham. He needed this out sooner. Because you get that buffed attack speed that will allow you to just juice your way through all these horsemen. The reinforcement trickling, he should be able to push the horsemen back in the end. But Beasty's happy with this. He says, you're out of my base, stay out of my base. All right. This is Delhi Sultanate territory. And although England may have had control over parts of India, not at this stage in history, my friend. We're in the feudal age, so you're not allowed here. He repels him again, forces another battering ram to be invested. So Beasty never able to get that tech up, by the way. He's been hard invested into the food constantly, right? And that's why he even built to a marketplace to buy more food, because he needs the horsemen. And this is, I mean, this is just being defined by a long-ass feudal age. Nobody's ever moving up in this world. We're all savages here. We never learned how guns work. We never learned how castles get built. We just know how big wood smash building, ugh. And long spear stab bow user, ugh. That's been our existence. The bang ram in on it. Trying to take out the mosque. And slog his way through slowly. Works out to his advantage, allows him to trickle in further more longbowmen. And of course the palings go down as well. A little bit preemptive. Not gonna lie, folks. Not sure placing the palings right now was the best of idea, because it means that you don't have them. They're gonna be on cooldown now as soon as you move. And that means Beasty might have an advantage now. He's got a decent amount of horsemen at this stage. The bang rams are now gonna move in. Another outpost down, and this is the advantageous play for WAM that we want to see, right? The creeping outpost. This is how England gets a foothold in your base and ensures they never pushed out of it. TC down to half HP. In dire need of assistance. Horseman riding out. Going to charge forward onto the battering ram now. Needs to go past it, though. And look, WAM, he never moved these paling placements. He never moved the longbowman. But there's going to be a wrap round. Beasty gets around the back, stabs him in the side, and that's where the palings will be de-deployed. And he'll push in hard here. There's enough horsemen here to rinse most of these longbowmen. The outpost might be the difference, though. The additional attack speed and the campfires as well. They're not dying as quickly as Beasty would like. But he does start to get around the sides. And this is where the numbers will matter. He's got enough horsemen to plow through these longbows quickly. Quicker than WAM could trade them out one by one. Which means that the longbow army is going to be spent. The villagers, in the meantime, head over to the battering ram to get rid of that. And it looks like WAM is going to be forced out of Beasty's base. Horsemen, I don't know if there's enough to get through these outposts. That's the only detail that is a little bit problematic right now, is Beasty might not be able to push out towards WAM's base because these outposts are here and existing. And you can see he just pushes past, looking to find and exploit any villagers, any longbowmen, anything that's still trickling in that WAM hasn't re-microed yet. But it does mean there's a few longbowmen left. As you can see, they come out of the outposts, sniping out the villagers in the meantime. And Beasty, well, he's left his archers to die. I don't know if that's the play. That being said, he does have all three of the sacred sites right now. So I think in Beasty's eyes, he just wants to use his horsemen on the aggress to ensure his opponent can't get out and decap, because he's getting huge amounts of income. Look at it. You can see it's 600 gold per minute. Nobody working on the gold line. Not that they'd be able to with this outpost standing here. But you can see he's now prepped for a situation where he can go Castle Age. And what's WAM's situation? Well, he has wood. He definitely has a lot of wood. Might want to use it to build a lot of walls, because you're going to be hiding very soon, son. And he's losing a few of these villagers, but in the end, turns out villager power is just as good as longbows. We'll force the horsemen back. No repair interest from Beasty. He says, no, this lad will not be back in my base anymore, all right? I don't need to repair that TC. I'm booming, baby. Let's go. House of Learning. It's time for some home blades, and we're going to stick them right to the English. So WAM now has to divert his forces towards these sacred sites to decap them, which means there'll be no more pressure onto Beasty's base, and this should be a clean tech up without any interruption now. I say clean. It took 19 minutes, a lot of dead horses, but he's there. He's there. His eco is still not in shambles, but definitely noticeably behind. 13 more villagers for the English player in this, but remember, we talked about this treacle from this gold. It's insane. You know, so 15 workers worth saved, right? Because he's got all three of the sacred sites. That's trickling in 600 gold per minute. That's what's allowed this tech up. By the way, look at his current resources. So once this tech up's complete, he has the required resources to go for lancers if he wants. Or elephants, as we're going to see. I was going to say elephants is also on the table. You know, you could go for the horseman. But it is going to be the Tower War elephant. And this Tower War elephant does produce quickly. It only takes 30 seconds courtesy of the scholar sitting inside. I don't know how scholars necessarily improve the rate at which you raise an elephant to the point of warriorhood. I'm trying to think what stage in the production of an elephant a scholar helps. Maybe he's an expert on making them do the hump. Either that, or Delhi Science was centuries ahead of everywhere else, and they actually have the power to genetically enhance the speed at which creatures grow. That's also a possibility. I'm willing to go with that. You know, these guys, like all these StarCraft players coming over, what if StarCraft scientist units actually just dropped into the Age of Empires world and dressed themselves up as scholars? Like no one will ever suspect it, you know? Explains a lot when you think about it. I mean, they're fabricating resources out of somewhere to be able to pay for this research, but it's not out of my bank. And this is more proof. You saw that, guys? -1 wood. That says everything it needs to. BC was in -1 wood. This suggests that they are clearly fabricating resources out of nowhere. Science, guys. All right. Enough tinfoil hat wearing Furies. Let's talk about what's happening in this game. Homeblades, now starting to be researched. It's going to take 6 more minutes. But Lancers are being produced. And Wham is in trouble because Wham has not prepped himself for a tech up. He has begun to pivot over to... Oh, no. Oh, kill me now. So he has begun to pivot over to farms, but he seems to, in the process of learning how to till the lands, there we go, he has remembered the importance of lumber mills. This was a slightly missing detail and a lot of inefficiency there as 22 workers were working a wood line without a drop-off location close by. So this should help Wham get a lot more wood compared to what he was at, probably double in fact. And if he wants to transition more to food, he can, but he needs to just get the gold. That's why he switched over. He knows he's going to be under pressure soon. He hasn't experienced it just yet because BC's building. And that has to have you scared. You're crapping yourself if that's the case because you know what you're up against, right? You're up against Delhi Sultanate. They've reached Castle Age. They haven't turned up in your base yet? How many elephants do you think they have? That's exactly the thought going through your mind. And scouting vision-wise, you don't actually know, right? It's hidden just at a range of the outpost, so he never gets this info. He sees one now. And it will strike the fear of God into him as the Delhi boys do push out. Meanwhile, Longbows scout out the remaining horsemen in Wham's base. But it means that that's just space for them to siege down these outposts, and it won't take them long. Oh, yes. All right, Thumper over here. And here comes Dumbo as well. Won't take them long to get through this. Outpost down. And Wham, I don't know if he's a religious fella, but he's probably praying to God right now that he gets his white tower off before problems come his way. However, the choo-choo train of elephants are on the way, and no third one being produced just yet. That's the plus side at the moment for Wham. Not that there's many plus sides. He might be in trouble, actually. I think they could get out quick enough. If Beasty pushes out right now, he'll catch Wham before the white tower goes down. Let's see if he chooses to do that. Yep, here he comes. No brakes on the elephant train, I'm afraid. Well, unless you've got a mouse. Oh, I do not believe that Wham has the ability to build mice, so he might be in trouble. Longbow army moves out. He sees it. The white tower. He's going to start interrupting it. Also, look what's coming in. Is he going to get one long time? The Skull's moving across with the relic right now. The Lancers are keeping the Longbows at bay. And they'll have to snipe him out. The Skull, he needs one more tap into him, and they'll get him in the end. But the white tower is not going to be complete. The villagers, they're going to be sniped out before they can finish it. Wham! Just like that, wham, goes his chances of winning this game as Beasty clutches it out just in time before a critical defense is completed by England.